so we've been talking a lot about digital lead generation. So what I wanted to share is what has come through my feed in the last 24 hours. Instagram launches IGTV, possible YouTube rival. Facebook launches a business magazine in the UK called Grow. They maintain they're not a publisher, but they apparently are in the publishing business now. Google launches a URL inspector tool. So now with your websites, you can use the inspector tool and see how Google sees your domain and your website. E-privacy is the next iteration of GDPR. So look for that if you're doing any marketing in Europe. YouTube announces new revenue sources for creators, including merchandising and memberships. So if you're doing anything with YouTube creators or considering doing so, that's something that's going to be coming down the pike. And Google opens up its knowledge panel verification, so you'll be able to become more of an authority of your content that Google shows. So that is literally what's just come through in the last 24 hours. Let's talk about some of the basics and the fundamentals, and then this afternoon I'm going to talk a little bit more about what's to come. So unlike my predecessors, I do have a PowerPoint here. And as we all know, digital has become the game changer for all traditional marketers. What we now know is what we can track, what we can target, what we can measure, and certainly, hopefully, you're all measuring everything that you're doing. And it's to a core audience, and it can be with precise accuracy. But at the end of the day, in the beginning of the day, what you need are the brand basics. A lot of conversation today about the brands. You also need some digital essentials. We're going to rapid fire a toolbox of making sure that you've got the boxes checked, as it were. And then there's the next generation. And so whether some of these are considered traditional or transitional for you, just want to run through some of the basics so that you can continue to build upon what you're doing in your strategies. A lot of conversation about your customers. Know where they are. Spend the time to find out where your customers are. Where are they spending time? Where are they engaging? Where they are is where you need to be as a brand. Find the influencers. Very excited to hear those talking about influencers. It's not just the Kardashians anymore. There is a wide range of influencers out there that can help build your brand, tell your story, and finding those influencers is growing in importance. Monitor the market trends. I'm going to steal a little thunder from this afternoon, but hashtag look up. We need as marketers to continue to be looking outward in as much as we are looking inward. So monitoring those social trends, those industry trends. When we look at social listening, it is such a core element of brand basics now, is to be paying attention to what's being said. Whether you're highly engaged in social or whether you're just trying to figure out whether it's Snapchat, Twitch, or something in between is the social platform of where your audience is, ultimately we need as marketers to always be listening, to track the mentions and the sentiment and the things that are being said, not only about your brand, but your competitors' brands, your colleagues' brands, those that you follow, those that you feel are the trendsetters. So ultimately, we need to keep an ear to the ground of what's going on in the marketplace. Leverage the social tools. I'm sure you're all using some type of analytics and tracking tools. Social tools are equally important. There's a myriad of social tools out there, but again, use one of these tools that helps to pay attention to what is being said about your brand and build your strategies around what you learn and can perpetually be changing and testing and monitoring what you're learning. From a brand basics, these are some, again, just the building blocks of what we need to be doing to pay attention. Monitor your keyword, monitor your brand name, monitor what's being said in the mentions again, and your competitors and their products and their product functions, industry-specific terms, as well as what the issues are. The internet has become one big social platform for consumer-generated content. Consumers are actively talking about you, about your competitors. So follow the mentions, follow the things that you know to be issues in your organization. Additionally, let's look at digital essentials. I'm not going to bore you with another funnel because I think it's been well done previously here, but we all know what that marketing funnel, what I really like about this funnel is that it begins to expand at the bottom as well. So whether you're flipping the funnel or you're leveraging a traditional model, that customer relationship and retention are the key elements of what has somewhat been determined as the loss. Everybody figures you stop once you have sold, once you have acquired the lead, once you have acquired the customer, but retention and customer relationships are so key in today's environment because our customers are always talking, and so you always want to be listening to what they have to say. A MarTech stack, one of the key fundamental building blocks to a strategy in Brand Basics is whatever you're using in the MarTech stack, it's ultimately where tools, technology, and strategy really converge. At no other time in the digital sphere has there been such a tipping point between what technology and marketing and customer relationship is ultimately becoming more and more the norm now. When I first started doing this, the IT departments of companies were always so further and segmented away from the marketing teams. Thankfully, they've become closer and closer together now because they really do need to work in concert with one another. So ultimately, we're going to rapid fire through some of the tools that are available in a MarTech stack. Again, just to make sure you're checking the boxes. Your website. Your website is the #1 marketing platform. For all of your activities in a marketing standpoint, you want to be sure that your website is that central hub. I neglected to see who all was standing when you were involved in a marketing activity that involved your website. Everybody should still be standing when it comes to a website because your website, like your home, will never be done. I've often called it a verb. A website is a verb. It is not a noun. It should be in perpetual flux. It should be in perpetual iteration. It is the race to the starting line when you finish your website. It's for brand visibility. It's for messaging. It's for tracking. It's for ensuring that there's flexibility of content. Clearly, everything is mobile first now, so you need to be sure that your website is, in fact, optimized from a mobile standpoint. We're going to be talking a little bit more about that this afternoon. Web and call analytics. I'm sure you're all using some form of, whether it's basic fundamental analytics or something more robust, but I'm fascinated to see how many people are not tracking the telephone calls that are generated as a result of traffic to a website. It's one of the easiest things to do is to track the phone calls that are generated from your website. So if you haven't been doing that so far, you're missing a lot of leads that you're not tracking, and your acquisition and your cost per leads can ultimately be impacted if you're not, in fact, tracking your calls. SEO. There are conferences that I'm sure you've all been to. There are 4 or 5 days that you can sit and talk about SEO. But at the end of the day, SEO is one of the most traditional forms of the digital strategy because it is to ensure that your website can be found, to ensure that it has content that not only and especially your customers like, but that Google and the search engines like. So SEO is still one of the most traditional forms of optimizing for visibility and owning page one. We love page one. And page one doesn't only have to include your website. It should be your blog. It should be your Twitter feed. It should be Facebook. It should be all of the elements that you own as a brand. You want to be sure populate and own page one. And if you're not ranking, I can probably guarantee your competitors are. So be sure to, don't forget about SEO anymore because it's one of the most traditional areas of digital. But ultimately, what you want to do is make marketing decisions based on search engine optimization. But at the end of the day, is it good for your customer? Again, there was a long time where brands were chasing Google's ranking, and it was the race for Google's ranking. But ultimately, do what's right for your customer, and Google will reward you. We've all seen the periodic table of SEO success, I trust, but again, it's the technical factors, the on-page factors, and the off-page factors that would ultimately help you optimize your website. There is so much that we cannot control when it comes to Google, so these are the building blocks of the things that we can control, so it's the low-hanging fruit. Content management software, make sure that you're using one. Whichever one you choose, make sure your website is a platform that has an ability to upload and add content. As marketers, we may not be IT professionals, so use something that's easy for you to upload content to, easy for you to make changes to and build landing pages. So a content management software is such an essential by today's standards. Automation software, whatever your demand generation system is, marketing automation software helps you do some of the heavy lifting. And again, with what's coming and what's now as far as artificial intelligence, there's so much that's going to be able to be done for you in the heavy lifting sense. So involving yourself and investing in some type of automation software is a very good idea by today's standards. Conversion tools. You monitor what's going in, you got to monitor what's coming out. So ultimately, you want to be able to be sure that you have a mechanism to track your leads and to enable your customers to be tracked and monitored with what comes to your website. Again, you'll want to engage likely your legal counsels when it comes to all of the privacy issues and what's going on with first-party data and the collection of data. If you are engaged in marketing overseas, I'm sure you're already well within the conversation of GDPR, but that e-privacy is the next cousin to what's happening in a data standpoint. Your customer relationship management. At the end of the day, it's about our customers, so knowing the information and gathering the intelligence as it relates to what's going on with your customers and closing those loop. It's so often that we're able to track everything that comes in, but did a sale take place? Is a customer retained? Do we have that customer for life? What is the life cycle of a customer? What is the average value of a customer? These are all the areas where having a powerful CRM system can help support all of your marketing needs. Customer service. It's interesting that we would call this part of the MarTech stack, but it truly is. I found this that, there's a new renaissance in customer experience. Why? Because our customers have big voices these days, and they're able to use them in many different places. So it's now, it's called a spectator sport. I would call it an Olympic sport. Ensuring that you have that relationship with your customer and knowing what's been said by your customer relationship managers is such a key part of the intelligence that you can gather to remarket to. If you know that the folks on the front line are hearing the same issues, from a customer service standpoint, you can reintroduce content, you can speak to those, you can optimize against those. So that customer service is such a key element, and utilize what you're learning from the customer service reps. Email marketing, again, it's one of those areas that has been, the ongoing evolution, but, ensure whatever systems that you're using, you want to be sure you're compliant, clearly. But whether it's a robust or very simple email marketing program, don't discount email. I know there are a lot of new sexy ways to get in front of customers, and I'm sure you're using them, and we're certainly talking about them. But keep in mind that email is such a key fundamental part of any of your marketing strategies, and using what you learn and using it for better marketing is such a key element still today. Social media, and this, again, lots of conferences, lots of conversation as it relates to social media, but find where your customers are. Again, it may not be the most robust or doesn't have to be the most robust, but find and pay attention to what's going on in social media for your own brand, for your competitor's brand, because it can be a very powerful tool for brand identity, for corporate promotion, for community development, for all the reasons that we're talking about why you want to be engaged with your target audiences. And there are a wide range of paid media options. I'm sure you're probably engaged in many of them right now, but there are a lot of different ways to reach target audiences, and so paid social is one of those ways. So again, just find which preferred platforms your customers are using and be sure that you're paying attention to them. Local search for local service area businesses, this is such a key element, and Google has done a pretty good job of mucking this one up for many years when it comes to Google My Business, Google Local, Google Places, whatever Google decides to say it is. It's still such a key element because it owns the top of search results. So make sure if you have brick and mortar locations that your service areas are well represented, as well as how it can help from an SEO standpoint. Listings management is a very key element of any MarTech stack, because knowing where your businesses are, what the hours of operation are, where your agents are, is such a key element, and many people still actually go to Google to find that information. Content marketing, content is everywhere. And so if you're engaged in whether, again, it's pretty fundamental or more robust content, just know that content is such a key element. It's still king. Content is king, and so what you want to be sure is that you're putting new content out there, you're developing your content, your blogs, white papers, reviews, podcasts, graphics. There's countless ways of developing content, but know that fresh content on your website is good business. It's just good business. Again, when your website's a marketing platform, content can certainly help to continue to grow both your organic visibility on search results as well as keeping your customers happy with fresh content. It reinforces your brand messaging and can be very powerful at leveraging campaigns, whether, again, in print or in digital. Advertising tools. I'm sure everyone's engaged in using all of these advertising tools, but again, just to check the box as far as a MarTech strategy, you want to be sure that you're using paid search as well as any of the measurement tools that you can use with Google AdWords. Google's coming out with a new interface, so if you're using anything on Google AdWords, you'll be seeing a new interface in July. Bing, very small market share as far as it goes, but it can be very powerful and very cost-effective lead generation. You certainly won't get the volume that you get out of Google, but it certainly has the opportunity there. Facebook continues to build its ads manager, and so whether you're involved in the media frenzy as it relates to the information that, and the issues that that Facebook has had, it still is a very powerful platform to be able to reach target audiences. And the average user of Facebook now, I think, is 52 years old. So depending on the target audiences that you're looking for, don't discount Facebook. Again, you may not be finding your target audience on Snapchat, but Facebook still is a pretty good platform to find target audiences. Display and programmatic. Displays come a long way over the decades where it was you just threw dollars against the wall and you saw what stuck. Today, now we're doing it in a programmatic standpoint, and ultimately you want to be able to use that tool effectively as well. Data, you always want to be tracking your data, and I'll be talking quite a bit about this this afternoon, but once we deal with the building blocks and the fundamentals of brand basics as well as the digital essentials, what's next? Well, there's a lot going on in search, in voice, in social media, in content development, with influencers, as well as connected TV and artificial intelligence, and those will be the topics I'll be speaking about this afternoon. So like anything else, you want to build a strong foundation and then layer on beyond that. And I will maintain in these 11 minutes something else has changed in the digital sphere, so whatever happens between now and this afternoon, I'll share it this afternoon. So thank you so much.